Okay, just back from my trial commute. It's a beautiful bank holiday Monday, nice and sunny, a light breeze. I've not been out for the last 3 days since I got the bike because it's been gale force winds up here. I thought that might put me off before I even started. So this time I made it to within about 5 minutes of where I work and then came back. So it was a total of 9.44 miles, and we averaged about 11 miles an hour, as you can see. I'm a little bit out of breath again, a little bit of a sweat. I was all right for the halfway there. So again, I don't think I got too sweaty, but on the way back I was pushing the pace a little bit more as I knew where I was going, and I've worked with a little bit of a sweat, and it's getting quite warm out there actually. So definitely think that I can make it there and back in a day now. I'm getting a bit more confident with knowing exactly where I'm going, but there are still some bits where I don't really know what the best way to get there on a bike is. You do seem to be forced onto busy roads. I had to come across a very busy roundabout near the old Marriott Hotel at Gosforth Park. There didn't seem to be any way around that without risking your life going across there. It was quite empty today, but I'm not sure I'd want to go there on a busy commuter time, so we'll have to see how we can get around that. I've had a look for bike maps which show the bike paths around Newcastle. There aren't really any decent ones. They all show the main cycle routes, but not which bits of pavement you can cycle on, which bits you can't, exactly where you go when you get the end of the cycle lane. And there's bits where you just suddenly seem to be dumped onto a pavement that doesn't look like wide enough for cyclists and pedestrians, but you don't really have an option. So I'm rapidly adopting the cyclist mentality of I'm doing my bit, so I should be able to go wherever I want, which when you're a motorist you think that's selfish cyclist for you, but once you get on your bike and you realise there's not really any other option, then you tend to start changing your mindset and just thinking, well, what do I do? Get off and walk across this busy dual carriageway, or do I just keep on going and sod everyone else? Yes, it's an interesting change of mindset when you've got the bike, but the motor's doing a grand job. There are bits where I've been going up to 20 miles an hour, so the motor's been cutting out, so that's been me doing the work. Most of those admittedly were downhill sections, so but I think my legs will slowly get stronger. The other thing I noticed, what was the other thing I noticed? The battery on this bike. So I did about 10 miles. The battery's still showing a full 4 bars. So exactly how much I did and how much the battery did, not quite sure. I was on the middle settings. There's 3 settings on here. There's the standard, the eco is the lightest one, and then the turbo. I didn't use the turbo at all, which maybe I should have done thinking about it, because there were a few inclines that I could have probably done with a bit more help. But so far the battery life's looking pretty good as well. I've ordered up a load of my accessories, so in a future video when they arrive I will show you all of them. The only other accessory I've got is of course this hat, and the choice of this hat, this is a laser hat, and the reason I got this one was because, well, one reason, it's nice and bright, so I shouldn't have any problem being seen. The other one is that it's very adjustable for size, because I didn't really want to go into a bike shop at the moment with the lockdown as it is. I couldn't try one on and find out what size fitted, so this one seems to be a fairly universal size with an adjuster at the back, and I'll find the details of exactly which model it was so I can share that as well. For now though, that's the end of that, and I'll go and have a shower and a cup of coffee. Okay, so a few more thoughts after this morning's ride. So this was my 9.5 mile ride to test out the e-bike, the Carrera Subway, as a commute. So I got to within about 5 minutes of my work, so it was about 25 minutes it took me to get there in each direction. So overall I was out for about 50 minutes going there and back, which sounds quite reasonable. A few other comments based on what I noticed. One was that having ridden the bike once when I first got it, and then not ridden it for 3 days and getting back on, it was quite painful initially, and I didn't think I was going to be able to ride at all because of the bruises that the saddle had caused. So I hadn't felt it at all for the last 3 days, but as soon as you get back on the bike you must put pressure on the points that that had pressure on before, But once I settled in, after about 5 minutes, I didn't really notice it. But initially I was thinking, I'm really not going to like this. I have subsequently ordered a gel cover for the saddle, which at the moment I've just bought a relatively cheap one from Asda, so we'll see whether that does any good at all, or whether it's just not worth it. That one's coming for about £7, £7.50 I think it is. So there are some better ones on Amazon for about 20 quid. I thought I'd see how that goes, and I've also ordered some padded cycling shorts, so hopefully between those two and the more I get used to it, it will get a little bit better and more manageable from the saddle sore point of view. Other things I've ordered I've ordered a set of mud guards. Now this proved to be a bit more difficult than I was expecting. So for a 27.5-inch wheeled bike with what is it, about 1.95 inch wide wheels, getting full length mud guards seems to be quite tricky. Getting ones that fit on hydraulic disc brakes, bikes with hydraulic disc brakes, also seems to be an issue. So trying to find out online which ones would be able to fit on my bike was quite difficult. Going to lots of forums, seeing what people had done before. In the end, I've ended up going for a cheap pair of mountain bike clip-on mud guards just to get started, but I've got a feeling that they're probably not going to protect me a great deal. So it's billed as a hybrid bike, the Carrera Subway e-bike, but it seems like it's treated more as a mountain bike when it comes to things like mud guards. So I'll see how effective those are, and if not, I might have to consult a proper bike shop who might know about these things and be able to advise me. But seeing advice from some of the other bike shops online, they seem to have been advising people with similar bikes to this that they needed to use the clip-on ones. So we'll see how that goes. What else have I ordered? I ordered some bike lights. These were from Amazon. They're supposed to be 600 lumen front light, which from the reviews that I've seen, you want something ideally higher than 500 lumen to be able to see in the dark. But anything from 300 lumen will get you seen, and the backlight is always a bit dimmer. I can't remember what the lumens are on this backlight, but I'll show you them when I get them through. So these only cost about 15 or 20 pound the pair, but you can pay up to kind of 70, 80, 90 pounds for a set of lights. So initially I'm going for relatively cheap things while I see whether I'm actually going to keep this up, and if I do, then I might get something a bit better if I need them, if these aren't up to the job. But they had good reviews, so we'll see how that goes. What else have I bought? I've bought a bike rack for the back, so I'm thinking about whether to get a pannier bag or some bag to go on the rack, so I can carry my lunch and anything else that I might need. The other big item that I bought was a lock, so I've gone for a kryptonite D-lock with an extra wire, which allows you to lock your bike to a solid object and then lock your saddle and your other wheel to the lock. Now this is in the UK we have different classification systems, and up to a gold standard secure lock. So I've gone for a gold one. This one cost me about £28, I think it was, and it's kryptonite, which at least is a brand that I've heard of, but again, we'll see how that stands up. They tend to be quite heavy, so this one's between 1.5 and 2 kilos, which sounds like quite a lot, but then compared to the weight of me, it's probably not a very high percentage, so we'll see how that affects things. So that's my purchases so far. The other things I've purchased are some cycling clothes. So as I've mentioned, the cycling shorts. I've also got some trousers and some waterproof trousers and a waterproof jacket that's high vis. So my wife has said that she's not going to let me out on the bike without high vis clothing, so I've got that, and I've got my high vis helmet. So again, when they all arrive, which I'm waiting at the moment for a doorbell to ring, and some of them may be turning up today, I'll unpack them and show you what I've got, and then we'll see how they perform over the next few weeks when I start using them. I shouldn't need the bike lights really unless it's wet, because we're in May at the moment up in Newcastle, so it doesn't get dark until around 10 o'clock, and it doesn't get light, or it gets light again in the morning, probably about 3:30, 4 o'clock at the moment. So I can't see I'm going to need the lights for the moment, but I figured it's worth having them just in case there are some really dark, cloudy days where I want to make sure that I'm seen. The other thing I got was some reflective tape. That only cost about £4, I think, for several meters of it, which I was thinking I might put around the frame of the bike, but I'll have to have a look at that and see how that looks, as to whether that looks like it's worthwhile. So that's what I've bought. So far my accessories have cost me about 160 quid on top of the price of the bike. I could probably have done without some of them, but I wanted to make sure that I had the rack and the lock and everything, so that when I go I'm not struggling with a backpack on, that kind of thing that might put me off. So I don't want to have any reason to put me off from cycling. So that's my update for the moment, and keep your eyes peeled for the next one, which will hopefully have some of these accessories to show you.